This is Roger Guy of Chapter7Attorneys.com. I wanted to do a short informational video on reasonable expenses and your Chapter 7 case. A lot of times clients will come in and they have this amount as far as their expenses, and sometimes it's way too high, and we know that it's going to be too high, and so the issue becomes what is reasonable. And the short and simple answer to that is this: that in the context of filing a bankruptcy case, the IRS has designated certain expenses, such as for food, clothing, shelter, and vehicle payments, as to what is reasonable. And so I wanted to use an example of a case where the court said simply that the expenses were not reasonable that the debtor was trying to use, even though those expenses were their actual expenses. And in particular, it was the Bankruptcy case that was recently decided, in which the debtor had for a long time been paying to maintain his mother in a separate household. And in fact, he had been paying about $1,000 a month to pay for his mother's living expenses. And in addition, the facts showed in that case that the debtor had actually $150,000 or $152,000 in credit card debt. And so the U.S. trustee filed a motion under the Bankruptcy Code, and the code section is actually 11 U.S.C. 707B. And in that bankruptcy case, the Chapter 7 trustee's office made the motion and said that, look, this expense of him paying for his mother to live in a separate household was a substantial abuse under the Bankruptcy Code. And in fact, the court agreed with the trustee's office. The court, moreover, said that the mother could have gone ahead and moved into the debtor's house. And furthermore, one of the other expenses, the normal living expenses that the debtor had listed in his petition, was an expense for $600 a month for food. Well, one of the other reasons that the court found that this was to be a substantial abuse of the Bankruptcy Code and the provisions of the Bankruptcy Code was simply because the IRS guidelines only provided for a family food expense per month of $537. Now, sometimes these guidelines can be rebutted, but in order to do that, you have to show the special circumstances. And in this particular case, the debtor didn't show any extraordinary circumstances that would justify that additional $63 a month in food expense. And so, your expenses might actually be what you're actually putting out each month, but if they don't meet what the IRS guidelines are, then you can be subject to attack by the Chapter 7 trustee's office. And a motion might be filed to dismiss your case because you've, in the eyes of the law, substantially, I should say, abused the Bankruptcy Code. I hope that you found this informational video to be somewhat useful. And if you have any questions, feel free to call my office at 770-792-1000. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions, or you can visit me at www.chapter7, the number 7, attorneys.com. Thank you for your time.